Hannah, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Anytime. Hannah, so let's begin with the story of Shireen Abu Akleh. Tell us something about this person and her background.
Yeah, she is a reporter with Al Jazeera.
Mm-hmm.
She's been reporting from occupied Palestine for over 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and she's well-known reporter to the Palestinian people because she always was there to witness the brutality of Israeli occupation and the Israeli settler violence and all aspects of brutal Israeli associated with settlements and killing people and injuring people and confiscating their land and building illegal settlements on their land. So she been a household for the last over 20 years, as I said.
Right.
And it seems the Israelis didn't like her reporting, so they shot her basically. A sharpshooter shot her, and only sharpshooter could shoot her and kill her because she was wearing, a vest and
Helmet.
and the
And the helmet.
A helmet.
Yeah.
So and the sharpshooter shot her between the ears, where it wasn't covered. So it was deliberate assassination, and they really murdered her on the spot. And not just that, they kept shooting at people who tried to take her to hospital, to try to rescue her and delayed the ambulance from entering the area. And it's clear because there were more than 5 or 6 people, reporters, they were all together, and they saw everything, and they knew that, the Israeli army that was shooting at them. And they injured also one producer with the Al Jazeera. He was lucky, he moved at the last minute, and it hit him in the back, in his vest, bulletproof vest, really. All of them they were wearing bulletproof vests. So it's clear, they tried to claim otherwise. Including their prime minister, they lied about it, and they tried to say at the beginning that the shot might have come from the Palestinians. And why Palestinians want to shoot one of their own? I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's adding insult to injury.
Absolutely.
Some background about her. She is from Christian background, she's Palestinian Christian, and she's also a U.S. citizen. She has the U.S. citizenship. They don't care, these fascists in Israel. They don't care because they know they are protected, and the Western world won't dare or won't put any pressure on them or sanction them for all these human rights violations, because without the West, who are feeding this monster, including our government here in Ottawa, they are literally feeding this monster and protecting it at every corner.
Absolutely.
At the UN, and then supplying them with these, weapons that kill Palestinians. That's not just the U.S., but also Canada supplies them with all sorts of military equipment. So, the direct responsibility is on the shoulder of those who killed her, but also the governments in the West carry also a responsibility for her murder, and her blood is on their hands also. That includes Mr. Trudeau here in Canada.
Now, what led to the violence between Palestinians and the police during her funeral?
Yeah, the main reason, although they're trying to weave stories about it, which again lies, because they said they agreed with the family, but the family immediately said we never agreed with anything. How the funeral should be conducted? It's their own funeral. The family is responsible for the funeral, not the Israeli police. But the main thing that provoked them, that she in her coffin was wrapped with the Palestinian flag, and they were trying to attack the coffin and take the Palestinian flag from it. And the process, they desecrated the coffin and the martyr. And, not a barbarian would attack a funeral. There is no respect for living, no respect for the dead either in this fascist state that's called Israel, and that Mr. Trudeau says he shares value with them. Yeah, that's true. He shares value of colonialism and genocide and apartheid. That's the values he shares with these idiots, these monsters, and that occupied Palestine for the last 74 years, and not allowing even the people, the Palestinian people, to go to their homeland. They are doing it because of the support of the West. If any other government does 1/10 of what Israel is doing, they would have invaded like they did in Iraq. In 6 months they evacuated Saddam Hussein from Kuwait, for example. And the hypocrisy is glaring compared to what's happening in Ukraine.
Right.
They cry murder, while in the case of Palestine, they keep their mouth shut. Not just that, they support Mr. Trudeau said it many times. Israel has the right to defend itself.
Right.
The colonizer and the oppressor and the occupier has the right to defend itself. What a kind of logic is that? The occupied have the right to defend itself with all means, that including armed struggle and resistance, military resistance against this occupation. It's guaranteed by international law to resist your occupier. It's like saying, de Gaulle was a terrorist because he resisted the Nazi occupation in France, and, this is the mentality of the apartheid regime, that they think they are supremacists, and this is the result of their racism against the Palestinian people. So they actually, just today they attacked another funeral for another Palestinian martyr named Walid Sharif in Jerusalem, inside Jerusalem. They followed them even to the cemetery. They followed his funeral to the cemetery, and they attacked the hospital that he was leaving to go to his through the streets of Jerusalem to go to his cemetery, his final resting place. Also, they injured, for your information, they injured another reporter who was covering this story for Walid Sharif. It's systemic and it's institutional racism and fascism inside Israel. And this is what we are protecting. This is what the Canadian government is protecting. I won't consider myself protecting them because I'm always exposing them. But this is what the Canadian government is protecting. And again, as I said, Palestinian blood are on their hands. And I say it loud and clear. And sooner or later, they'll pay for it at the at the Court of Justice, whether in The Hague or anywhere else.
Now, what can you tell us about the weekend events in which Shireen was remembered all over Canada?
Yeah, actually, the weekend events was to commemorate the 74 years of Nakba.
Mm-hmm.
Nakba means the catastrophe. That's
Absolutely.
what happened to us in 1948. And, in simple terms, we call it catastrophe because we lost our homeland. There were two-thirds of our people were ethnically cleansed from Palestine. That's in 1948. And over 500 towns and villages were wiped out of the face of the earth. That's why we call it our catastrophe.
Hmm.
So we were commemorating it, and we had a really good turnout here in Vancouver. People could look at the pictures and videos from the demo. It was spirited, and we had um, uh, good support from across the board, from Canadians to Filipinos to East Indians to, and more significantly, from the indigenous people of Canada. There was a poem that was read by the daughter of Lee Miracle. She passed away just
Absolutely.
last year, and her daughter read her poem. It's called Salute to Mahmoud Darwish, the famous Palestinian poet who passed away also maybe over 10 years ago. And it was a moving experience, really, to hear Columba, Bob, the daughter of Lee Miracle, reciting her mother's poem.
Hmm.
Also, we had some choir, solidarity choir, played two songs, and in it, they supported and called for
Right.
the ending the occupation
Right.
and free Palestine. That was part of their theme,
Definitely.
which was moving. And we might upload all these soon to YouTube, and people could follow us
Absolutely.
on Facebook, Canada Palestine Association
Right.
Facebook page and Facebook group.
Absolutely.
We have both, and again, we have Twitter account too as PDS Vancouver, Canada Palestine Association.
Right.
So all these will be uploaded. It's ironic, really, because the police in Montreal tried to disrupt the demonstration. Again, the same way the fascists in Germany, because they banned this commemoration of Al-Nakba, which is really ironic. We are trying to commemorate our, uprooting and dispossession of our homeland, and they are not allowing us to mourn. I mean, it's really outrageous.
Right. Definitely.
And the police in Montreal tried
Right.
to do the same, like the fascists
Mhm.
in Germany.
Right. Well, Hannah, it was nice talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Just keep us posted. We might have you on air again because this is a developing story.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Thank you for inviting.
Bye for now.